just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today for our IBM Planning Analytics Lunch and Learn. We got some fun content today. Hopefully keep everybody engaged and again, get everybody in and out here in about an hour. I think most of the people that are on this phone call probably know what Planning Analytics is, but just in case there's a few people who don't, throughout this section you'll hear us talk about Planning Analytics, and you may even hear us refer to it as TM1. About 4 or 5 years ago, IBM rebranded the TM1 product to be called IBM Planning Analytics. So especially as I'm talking today, I definitely tend to jump back and forth between the TM1 and the Planning Analytics terminology. So I am Brady Marr. I am the Planning Analytics Practice Lead at eCapital. I've been with eCapital for about 10 years and working in budgeting and forecasting projects for about 20 now. So before we get going, I just want to remind everybody, if you see anything, throughout this webinar that you have questions on, feel free to submit those questions via chat, or you can contact us after the webinar. All right. So to get moving, just want to briefly talk about eCapital, and we're going to spend about 1 or 2 minutes on this, and we're going to jump right into our main content. So we are an IBM Platinum business partner. Again, we've been working with IBM for about 20 years, going all the way back to the Adatum days, for those people who remember Adatum, which eventually got bought by Cognos and which got bought by IBM. We value, partnering with our clients. It's something we're very passionate about, working with you on whatever projects that you have on the horizon. We work mainly in 3 main areas, mainly in performance management, which is definitely the area that I spend my time in. We also work in analytics and data, and then we also have an advisory service practice who can really come out and help you figure out what that roadmap is and what your next steps are. A very small sample of our clients, but again, eCapital's been in business for 20 plus years. We worked with all different types and sizes of clients, from small clients to extremely large clients. And again, we're proud to say that all of our clients that we get repeat business from them year over year. All right, so jumping right into it. Again, the first topic I'm going to talk about, we're going to spend about 15 minutes on this one, is the topic of XP&A. It's really how to get more out of your budgeting software. One thing that I continue to be surprised in is that there are a lot of competitor products to IBM Planning Analytics that really are just budgeting softwares. And the new term XP&A is extended planning and analysis. It really talks about, hey, I want to be able to use a software for more than just my basic financial budgeting. I want to use it for operational forecasts. I want to use it, start doing RPA. I want to start doing artificial intelligence. Really get more bang for your buck using the software that you already own. So throughout this first 15 minutes here, I'm going to talk a little bit about demand planning. And basically, the concept there is however you plan, every company does their demand planning differently. Planning analytics can account for however you plan. And then the second piece, definitely something that we're pretty excited about is, allows you, TM1 Planning Analytics can help you automate your shipment forecast using your demand plan and using days of supplies forecast. So the data set that we have today is again, it's a fun data set. You may notice that I am wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey. Big fan of Tony Romo. But what we're doing is with this data set I'm going to be showing you in a few minutes is it's really NFL data. And the first piece that I'm going to be working with is how do you forecast NFL jersey sales? So with that, I'm going to pop out of my WebEx or out of my PowerPoint, and I'm going to jump into Planning Analytics. All right. So this is Planning Analytics Workspace. Again, for the people on the phone that are still using the legacy TM1 tools, there's still quite a few people who may not have jumped into the Workspace functionality. That's where we're going to be working a lot in today. So within here, I'm going to go into my eCapital NFL book. And the book that I'm going to be working in today is Demand Analysis. So this is a book that, again, I've already built prior to this demo. So when we talk about demand forecasting, again, like I said, every company does demand forecasting very differently. I tried to bring just a sample of how that demand forecasting could work into this demo. So the first thing I brought in is social media. So based on using the total number of likes or followers from Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, again, I brought in all the NFL football teams and how many different followers they have. And essentially what we're saying is, hey, very likely that's going to drive at least a portion of your jersey sales. Again, the more popular a team is, and again, I think we assume that Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is somewhat representative of a team's popularity, is that the more popular a team is, very likely the more the demand is going to be. So if you look down through here, Dallas Cowboys, shocker, have one of the largest team popularities. They have about 15 million followers, at least at the time this data was pulled. And if I scroll across over here on the right, you'll see that Dak Prescott definitely has some of the higher demand jerseys throughout the model I'm building here. I do want to say very quickly, is not real data. It is representative of actual data. All right, so one thing that we may want to do, again, if we have people forecasting this, is perhaps there we go. All right, so Buffalo Bills, again, they're going to do a big marketing push. They're going to try to get a bunch of new Instagram followers. And what you'll see here is that very slightly, you can see that Josh Allen's forecasted jersey sales does go up. Again, this is a very nice tool. Everything's real time. Again, if we have a marketing team who focuses on, hey, how many Facebook likes, how many Instagram followers do we have, definitely something they could pull, automatically from the different social media platforms, or they could, even, plan on doing their forecast this way. So the next tab we're going to go to is just basically the players' social media. So if you guys remember a few weeks back, Drew Brees had a pretty big issue with social media. So in this case, somehow our marketing department has come up with some social media scores. And if I look across here, here's Drew Brees, got a pretty high demand for his jerseys. We are gonna just change the score and say, what does that look like if if he gets hurt on social media? So somehow he comes out and looks bad on social media. What we're gonna see is that based on that social media score, behind the scenes, we have some a formula built in here that says, hey, we're gonna see less demand if we don't have good social media engagement. Moving along, so stadium capacity. So obviously this is a very big topic right now in the news. For those people who have obviously been following, COVID is still affecting sports. They're talking about, are we going to have games with fans in the stands? Are we going to have games without fans in the stands? So what I wanted to mock up here was, obviously, if you have fans in the stands, they're going to be coming to the games. They're going to be wanting to wear their NFL jerseys to support their team. My assumption is if they're not going to the stadiums to watch the games, you're probably going to have less demand for the jerseys. Pretty basic concept here. So what we're going to change here is, what does this look like if instead of 100% capacity, what does it look like if we have 25% of the fans in the stands? And what you'll see is that very slightly, you actually see that the demand does decrease. And again, this was for everybody. Again, I'm assuming that they're going to apply this to all teams. There's obviously a chance that I think the New York teams have already come out and said that they may open up with 0% capacity. So if that's the case, what we might have to do is just for MetLife Stadium here, we might just have to zero that out completely. And again, based on that, you're going to see those quarterbacks that play in those stadiums just completely lose a lot of their demand. All right. So the last thing we're going to look at is, based on all this demand, again, I built in some basic assumptions here, like I said, based on the team popularity, social media, stadium capacity. There's a whole lot of other things we could have built into this model. And again, every company we work with, how they forecast their demand is different. But based on that demand, what we want to know is how many jerseys are we going to sell? Because what we don't want is, we don't want to make too many jerseys. And then something happens, the season gets canceled, a player gets traded from one team to another, and all of a sudden you have 100,000 jerseys sitting somewhere that you you obviously have in boxes that now you can't sell, and so you're going to lose a lot of money on those. So when it comes to our operational forecast, what we want to see here, and I'm showing this by player. So again, I am a Dak Prescott fan. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so everybody can see it. All right. So again, I'm looking at Dak Prescott here. And again, looking at our sales forecast is really what we were looking at. What I've also built in here is based on the number of team wins. And so again, as a Cowboys fan, I'm hoping they see some more wins. So right now I've got them forecasted at 11 team wins. And the number we're looking at here is how much product do we need to ship to the various stores in order to obviously have enough supply on hand to meet the demands. And so I built in, again, based on the sales and based on the days of the supply target, again, I have some assumptions in here saying that during the season, we probably want about 60 days of supply, and that going out into the off season, you probably want to decrease that down to like 15 days of supply. I also have some assumptions built in here based on the number of shipping days. Again, there's a lot of assumptions here. And the big trick here is, again, we're trying to get to this shipments forecast. So what I'm going to do is I've got a button here. And again, this can be completely automated behind the scenes inside of Planning Analytics. I'm just going to actually push this button. And what you should see is that it actually forecasts everything for me. And it says, you know, in August, we need to ship out 35,000 Dak Prescott jerseys in order to make sure that we have 60 days on hand. Same thing in September, we need to ship out 23,000. Now the trick here is if you were trying to do this manually, so if I just come in here and I type in, say, 40,000, what you're going to see is that affects every future month. This is a rolling issue, just, you know, a lot like, you know, a lot of our financial type metrics that we look at is 1 month is going to affect the next month. And so all of a sudden now we have too much days of supply. And so again, based on, you know, if I just try to manually enter this, I'm going to be chasing my tail every month to try to hit the correct numbers. I may get 1 month right, but it may affect the next month. So again, it's pretty simple. Behind the scenes, I can automate this reforecasting of the shipments to try to make sure this all hits. Now then, as a Cowboys fan, as I was saying a minute ago, I'm going to try to change this, and I'm going to forecast that they're going to have 3 wins in September and 4 wins in October. So now we're going to have 13 wins here. And what you're going to see is that's going to change everything up here. So again, now we're at 46 days of supply versus 60. So based on that, again, the more team wins we have, the more I think the more popular we're going to be, the more people are going to want those jerseys. So very quickly, I'm going to reforecast those sales one more time to try to make sure I get all my numbers right where they need to be. Finally, once we have this forecast, I know when, you know, talking to a lot of my retailer friends out there, a big thing they focus on is the mix. So obviously, you know, this was a very simple example here, but when it comes to mixes, we also want to look at, you know, what sizes of jerseys do we want. So if you guys are anything like me, COVID has been maybe friendly to my body weight. So I think I may have grown a little bit. So maybe our expectation is that the number of adult mediums goes down to, say, 5%, but our number of XLs goes up to, say, 29%. So based on all that, again, that's going to adjust how many, you know, what percent of the mix that we're going to change based on the number of sizes. And you could do something very similar based on, are we going to sell online versus in stores? And you could also factor in, you know, what stores are you going to ship all this to? So everything within here is, you know, again, completely customizable. Very powerful stuff. Again, taking planning analytics outside of the box of just the finance realm and really getting involved in your operational forecast. So with that being said, that's my part of the XP&A demo. I am now going to turn it over to Mitch Dorhout. Mitch is a senior consultant on my team. He's been with eCap 5 years. He's worked with 25 plus clients, and he is also based in Texas, based in Dallas, Texas. So Mitch, I'm going to turn it to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brady. Everyone can hear me well? Perfect.
Yep.
Sounds good. I will now share my screen here. So right now, as part of my demo, I want to kind of show the ability to be able to build out a dashboard within Planning Analytics Workspace and how easy it can be. So I'm actually right now going to set a timer on my watch, and I have under 10 minutes, right? So right now I'm going to set a timer on my watch, and I want to build this dashboard out. So I'm now going to open up a brand new exploration. So over here on the left, we have our servers over here. And for performance purposes, I'm gonna stop my video. But I'm going to expand our eCapital football. So I'll just get logged in here quick. Expand my cubes. And the cube that I'm working with is our NFL games history. This has data all the way back to 1966. A lot of different factors are home and away score. Was it a neutral field? What stadium? What was the game? What was the temperature, humidity, wind, etc. So we're bringing in a lot of different factors into our data. So right now what I want to do is I'm going to start with just a standard form. So I'm just going to do our games played by stadium. So right now when I drag this in on our rows, we got our stadiums, and right now we got our games played for our metric. I have some different filters here. So the year, the week, the away team, neutral field, home team, and etc. So for this example here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag out the year. I'll drag out week. I'm going to bring in the away team, home team, and then lastly, I want to bring in is it a neutral field? So from here, I'm just going to format this. All right, so now that I drag these out here, I actually want to synchronize this value so that it only updates to that. So from here, I'm going to check my synchronization, and so I have my away team, games, humidity, I have that neutral field. I don't want to synchronize the systems. Temperature, I got my week, no wind, and year. So after dragging those out, I can now synchronize that dimension. So from here, what I want to next do is I want to create a KPI, right? So I want to have a reference each time to say, what is my total number of games played? So for your business, it might be, what is my total revenue? What are my total salaries, EBITDA, etc. So I'm going to click and add this to the sheet here. So you'll notice is that it pops that window out. I'm going to go to my exploration features, and what I'm going to do is I want to abbreviate that number. I can also style it, so I'm going to put blue. I got my white color here. And then maybe I'll just do size 12 for the property, and then maybe I want to give it a name, right? So I'm just going to do games played, right? So extend this out. Looks like the one I decided to choose was a little, I'm just going to enable resizing. And now we have our KPI. So now the next thing that I want to accomplish is that I want to get a top 15 of the points scored to by stadium. So the next thing I'm going to filter is I'm going to go to my measures dimension, and I'm going to filter to total points. From that, I want to have leaf level. So now I have my leaf level here. So this is showing the total amount of points that are being scored in the game. This is an average for the year. And from that, what I want to do is I want to just give me the top 15. So guys might have a ton of SKUs or products that you are currently you're working through, but maybe you just want it at a high level, give me the top 15. So I'm going to select my top and bottom filter, and I'll say top 15 and click apply here. And no surprise, Gillette Stadium is the top. So of course the Patriots have had a lot of success over the last 10 years, unfortunately. So they're going to be the top stadium for points scored. I'm going to take out some of the formatting, so I don't want to show that it's a rule-driven. I can also do different types of table styles. I'm going to hide that column header. I don't want to show that total points. And can get this fitted right over here. And then I'm just going to collapse this and add in, so top 15 stadiums by points scored. All right, so now that you can have this more as a reference as you are changing your filters here. So for example, if I look at maybe the last 5 years, this dynamically updates as well as our games played. All right, my next thing is that I want to be able to create a simple column chart. So what I can do is, now that all this is synchronized, I just want to duplicate this view, but now I want to manipulate it from there. So what I'm going to do is I'll unhide it and go back to that table style and unhide that column header there. And so my next thing I want to do is I want to look at the percentage that the favorite of the game going into the game won. So I'm going to percentage of favorite winning. And right now, this is giving me all my stadiums. So what I can actually do is I'm just going to sort this descending to give me the top. And from here, I can go change my visualization. And I'm just going to select a column chart. So now we can kind of see trends by stadium of how often the favorite won the game. So percentage favorite winning by stadium. Perfect. So now we have that analysis. So as, for example, I change to maybe different by week. So if I say week 2, for example, all of these are going to dynamically update for me and to bring that across for you. All right. So the last thing I want to do for my stadium analysis is that I want to create some scorecarding within here. So from here, I'm just going to, again, just duplicate that view. And right now, I just want to go back to an exploration. And I'm just going to go unhide from here. And for the two things to filter on is home team score and away team score. Click apply and close. So now we can see by stadium, what is our home team versus our away team. I'm just going to drag this on up over here. All right. So the next thing that I want to accomplish is maybe I want to add in a simple variance calculation. So what I'm going to do is I'll highlight these two scores. And what I'm going to do is I can just create a simple calculation to take the home team versus the away team. So I'll say home versus away variance. That will then calculates an automatic calculation for you. I also want to get a percentage variance. So what I'm going to do is I'll highlight my home versus away variance and my home team score. Oh, of course, I unselected that. So I'm going to bring these back in. And I'll select these two and going to create a calculation. And I can do a percentage of. So the home versus away variance to the percentage of. And I'll just bring this out. And now we should be calculating the percent. So we have our percentages right here, that percentage of. We can also rename it from here. So I'll just say home versus away variance percentage. And I know it seems a little tight, right? So I think I'm going to update some of the text properties and just make it a little bit smaller. So now what I can do is, instead of having my variance populate right in that middle, I can now just go filter it down to the bottom here. Apologize for that, guys. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we want to now do some kind of conditional formatting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just sort this to show the greatest difference. So Gillette has the biggest home versus away variance. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some conditional formatting. So from here, I wanted to say, okay, if the value is greater than 5 in our home versus away variance, I'm going to say if it's greater than 5, I'm now going to select my value and say, okay, I want to give it an icon set of green. I'm going to add in another. So I'm going to move this one up, and I'll just say if it's less than -4. So we might have some people who struggle at home. I'll just say red. And then lastly, we'll add in 2 more to say if its value is greater than or less than 5. We'll give it a yellow. And last thing is if it's greater than -4. So from here, we're able to now control and be able to do our scorecarding within Planning Analytics Workspace here. So I'm going to scoot these two up to the top here. And I'll scoot this one up as well. Click Save. And what we should notice is that we have conditional formatting to populate for us here to be ability to do our scorecarding of a home versus away. So this could be tied to your guys' business as you're doing maybe your actuals versus your forecast. So now that I've been under in 10 minutes, I literally just got the notification that I was able to build my dashboard within 10 minutes. So now we brought in KPIs, we're able to do top 15s, we're able to do charting, scorecarding, etc. So I know that within Planning Analytics Workspace, it's really easy to be able to build these out, and look forward to if you guys have any questions at all. So that will actually wrap up my portion of the demo, and I can turn it back over to Brady.
Yeah, thank you, Mitch. All right, let's just go back here. All right, Mitch, are you guys still able to hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
All right, for some reason I can't share, but ultimately, to take this one step further from what Mitch just said, we still have a lot of customers who've been using TM1 for 10 years who may be a little bit scared to adopt the workspace functionality, and definitely what Mitch showed there is that it's very easy to use. You can get in there, play around with it for an hour or 2 hours, and you're gonna quickly be able to understand how easy it is to create these dashboards.
Hey Brady, can you hear me?
Yes.
I've been listening in, and this has been, I think you guys did a great job kind of showing the power of Workspace to everyone, and actually just prompted Ryan to create a quick poll for us so we can ask the crowd that's on the phone today. And you guys, again, thanks for joining. This is awesome. We usually love to do these in person, so it's just great to see the participation online, but hopefully we'll get a chance to see everyone in person again soon. But just really quickly, I want to do a quick poll, and you'll see it on the polling session of the WebEx, just to see who's currently using PA today. It's been available for a while, and for sure all of our cloud customers out there have access to the tool. But, the adoption's kind of been kind of all over the board as far as people using it. People still using some of the legacy tools. Some people moved over to it right away. So I'd just be really curious to see who's using it today. So if you can answer that poll quick, I think that would kind of help us kind of understand where people are at. Makes it a little more interactive as well. Assuming, Ryan, you can kind of watch it, right? So you can see how many people have submitted. I don't think we have to wait the full 5 minutes for it.
Yeah, give me just a moment. I'll throw the results up on you guys' screen here.
Perfect. That's awesome. It's kind of fun. Poll has ended. Here we go. I've got a pretty even split. So it looks like about 28% of the folks out there are using it today, which is awesome. Some people have started looking at it and dabbling in a little bit, which I think we see quite a bit at a lot of our clients, right? They're using it for some things, they've checked it out. And then 42% haven't started using it at all yet. So hopefully today, I think between what Brady and Mitch showed you, maybe whetted your appetite a little bit for the capabilities and the power, and maybe gave you some ideas of some use cases and things that you can start leveraging that technology for. But that'd be kind of fun just to kind of query the audience. So sorry to butt in there, Brady, but I thought that might be kind of fun.
No, and a great point, Matt. And one of the things that I don't think I mentioned in my presentation is I actually took some of my legacy perspectives web sheets that we had created, and I actually just embedded those inside of the workspace. So it really is that easy. It's just if you already have web sheets that you've built, reports that you've built that you like, you don't have to go out and rebuild those inside of Workspace. You can, you can just drag and drop, put those directly into the Workspace as a report. It works pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, Brady, if I add a little bit to that is obviously, I showed a little bit on the dashboarding perspective, but really Planning Analytics Workspace can be used from a multitude of ways, whether it's workflow, whether you want to do documentation of like admin controls, specific reports that Brady is talking about. So Planning Analytics Workspace can serve a multitude of different purposes for you. And I think, definitely with practicing with it, it definitely has a lot of power to it.
All right. So with that, the next presenter we have, and the last presenter for the day, we're definitely happy to have the CubeDocs team join us. CubeDocs is so much more than just a TM1 documentation tool. Our team has been working with it for years, and they just keep investing and put more and more options and features into the product. And definitely, happy to have them join us and share a little bit about CubeDocs. I think we need to unmute Stephanie.
Good morning. Now you can hear me. Good morning, Stephanie here, Senior Sales Manager with CubeDocs. Been in long time partnership with eCapital. We call them our rock star partners. Couldn't be happier with them. We're just going to dive into a quick kind of just summary slide, and then we're going to go right into the demo with Ross, our solutions engineer. So Ross, if you want to go to the next slide. So in a nutshell, we'll help you explore, search, compare, and describe. Explore, we really give you a bird's eye view of all of your models, dev and prod. Search, if you need to do audit calculation, you can look at certain dimensions, see whose hand's been in the pie, if you will. Compare, see changes over time. You can take nightly, weekly, or monthly snapshots. It won't bog your system down at all. And describe. We actually came out with some incredible features this year. We just rolled out with them, tagging and wikis. Maybe if we have time, we'll do a little extra bonus, but we're going to stick to 3 things that Ross wanted to hone in today. And then so we'll just go right into the demo. Ross, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks very much, Steph. I hope can you all hear excuse me, can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. I was having some technical difficulties earlier, so I just wanted to make sure everybody could hear me. So with that, I will hop over to our, let me switch my screen here. Too many tabs open. You know how that goes. There we go. All right. So, excuse me. So obviously this is a simple demo model, but what we really like to see, or what I'd really like to show you is this is the first thing you're going to see when you log into CubeDocs. It is like Stephanie said, a bird's eye view of your model. So you can see all of your cubes and how they relate to each other, whether it be rule flows, process flows, etc. And from here, and this is the explore use case that she mentioned, you can, this isn't just a pretty picture, even though it is automatically generated. You can, with just a couple of clicks, dive in. So I picked a cube. Now you can see more granular information about where information is flowing related to that cube. We can see one of these flows. We see there's an ODBC connection here. We can click on that. We'll find out about the process that relates to that flow. And if you click on that, we'll see down to the granular level the comments, when it was last updated. We can see diagrams related to that as well. Again, all of these are automatically generated based on your TM1 or Planning Analytics model. And then we can also get down, again, and this is about 5 clicks, 4 clicks down from your bird's eye view of your whole model. You can get down to the actual line-by-line script and the data source query for that particular process. So with just a couple of clicks, you can really go from, excuse me, a bird's eye view, a full understanding of your model, all the way down to what are the specific line-by-line details of each of my objects. So from there, we can get into annotation. So there's a couple different ways that you can annotate your model one of them is by adding descriptions. So we can see, and looks like my manager Scott was using this before. He took control of this, but I'm just going to go ahead and change this. We can, for each object in your model, cubes, dimensions, processes, and chores, you have the ability to go ahead and add really a user-friendly, plain language. No, I can't type and talk at the same time, clearly. Plain language description of each of your objects. And really the goal with that is, well, a couple of goals. One is that is really for knowledge transfer. So if you know, my my go-to example is whoever's responsible for this model, if they win the lottery tomorrow and somebody else needs to come in and take over, they're not starting from scratch and having to look at the code to try to figure out how all of the objects in your model relate to each other. You can come in here and add a plain language description, and anybody that's going to come in and look at your TM1 or Planning Analytics model can come into CubeDocs and say, okay, this is what each of these objects are for. Again, cubes, dimensions, processes, and chores, and look at the descriptions and really understand what is it for, why does this exist, how does it relate to anything else. So you can add these custom descriptions in CubeDocs. The other thing that you can do as far as annotation and describing your model, we've just, and this is one of the features Stephanie was talking about, is we added this tagging feature. And so tagging is really another way to add a level of metadata that you wouldn't program into your TM1 model necessarily, but allows you the ability to add that level of metadata to search and filter on it as well. So, for example, we'll use cube owner as an example. And we'll do another one. We'll say, say you have to do an audit on your dimensions to see if there's redundant dimensions or unused dimensions. We'll do that. So, and you can see we can apply this to different types of objects, all objects, what have you. So now, with just a couple of clicks, I've added a couple of tags, and you can get really creative with these. You can do ownership, you can do dates, you can do you know, short-term ones like this audit I'm describing, for example. So now if we go into an object, and now we see that tag that I just created, and we're going to say, actually, you know what? We're going to give this one to Brady. How about that? And then we can go into our dimensions. So now we're auditing our dimensions. And, okay, we've looked at our account dimension. Everything looks good here, you know, between the attributes, the elements, what have you. And now we'll give that a value, audit complete. Okay, so now whenever you navigate to those objects in CubeDocs, you'll see that, which is nice, but really the power comes in when you combine that with our search capability. So now if we search for Brady's name here, we'll see, all right, Brady, you're responsible for the assets cube here. So if you go through all of your objects in the same fashion and you want to see you know, a bird's eye view of your model of who's responsible for which objects, you know, if you've gone through and added that tag to each of them, then you can see, you know, you can see that at a glance. And now the other one that we did, like I said, I can't type and talk at the same time. So now we've audited this dimension, and so if we search on that value that we've designated, this audit complete value, we can see that, okay, this is the one that we've audited. But we also have this advanced search. So now if we want to see, we want to look at the dimensions that do not contain that tag. And so I've sort of transitioned into, you know, from the describe into the search aspect here of our 4 bullet points. And so you can see we have this advanced search. You can add multiple conditions, multiple groups of conditions and/or statements. So the search capability in CubeDocs can be quite powerful, and it's really searching through all of the objects in your model, all of the attributes of the objects in your model, and it's quite thorough. But for this example here, we're going to say, okay, which dimensions do we still need to perform our audit on? So we'll check that not checkbox, and we'll run the search. And we can see, all right, here's the ones that we still have to do this work on. Now we don't want to recreate check all of these boxes and the drop downs each time. So what you can do is you can save this search, and we'll call it, we'll just give it a name here. So then what you can do is, when you want to go back and review that list of items that you still need to audit, you can just click that drop down here and run the search again. The other thing that allows you to do, which Stephanie sort of referenced earlier, is you can add this to our document wiki. So our document wiki is another new feature. You can create documents, and in essence, it's similar to like a Google Doc. So you can type in text, static text, you can format it, etc. But really where the power comes in here is these last boxes right over here, where you can embed CubeDocs objects. So like that search that we just created, we can embed that right into this document. So we'll pick that for our current connection. And we'll see when we're in edit mode, it's just going to show in blue here that we have an embedded object. But then when we go to preview, that list appears directly within the document. And this isn't just sort of a static text image either. So this is a dynamic list. So, and it's interactive. So what I mean by that is each of these lists, or each of these items, isn't just a string of text. If you click on it, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead, and I didn't save this, but that's fine. It will take you to that object. So, so each of the items in that list will allow you to navigate to the specific objects. And the other part of it is, as you tag more objects in this example, or in the example, if you're making a custom diagram and you're embedding that into a wiki document, if you add new cubes to your model, what have you, the wiki document is dynamic. So it will always reflect the current state of your model as of your most recent CubeDocs snapshot. So you don't have to go recreate that search, re-embed an object, or anything like that. It will always show you the most current version, the most current list, the most current diagram, the most recent reflection of how your TM1 model exists. And then from there, you can also share it out. So if you have, you can share. Each document has a unique URL. You can share or store on an intranet site. You can also print it to a PDF if you need to, anything like that. So, so again, to summarize, sort of, explore. You can dig through your model. We have search, advanced search, and then the last one that I haven't talked about yet, and this is why we recommend when you're using CubeDocs to document both your development and production models, not just your production models, is that we can compare across models. So we're going to compare a development model to a production model, snapshots taken on the same day. So if we look, we run that comparison, and that you can see that went pretty quickly. And we can see, whoops, let me just click back there. You can see this nice sort of grid of the changes between your models, and you can dig into those pretty easily. So we can click on processes, we can see which ones were modified, and from here you can get down to even a line-by-line highlighted view of which lines in that process were changed within that. So, so you'll see line by line, and you can see they're highlighted yellow there. So that is my brief overview of CubeDocs.
Ross, if you don't mind, can you go
to finalize that, or I'll let Stephanie take it over from there. Oh, we can't hear you, Stephanie. You're still on mute.
I hit it one too many times. So we just want to say thank you.
We still can hear you. Oh, Stephanie's having audio difficulties. So what I think what she's trying to say is thank you to our eCap friends, and also let us know. Reach out to your eCapital consultants, and we'd be happy to offer you a free trial of CubeDocs and to go into more detail. This is sort of just a very brief overview of the capabilities of CubeDocs, and we'd be happy to go into more detail, show you more of the capabilities and the features, and really the power of what CubeDocs can do to help you manage and document your TM1 models.
Thank you, Ross and Stephanie. I have to say that my favorite function, I like all of the CubeDocs stuff, but the ability to compare different environments, what's changed. I mean, I can't tell you how often when we're on projects, we're trying to figure out, hey, did somebody migrate this from prod to dev? I mean, what's different?
Exactly. Thank you, Brady.
All right. There were a couple of questions that came up in the chat. The first one was somebody was asking how the forecasts were calculated, in the operational demo that I did to start off. First off, the demand forecast, what that is, that's a mock-up of basically a linear regression formula. So basically, it's a formula that we can calculate outside. We figure out what that formula is, and we can write that into TM1. And then based on all those different variables, the stadium capacity, the social media stuff, each one of those is adjusting our demand up or down, ever so slightly. And then the shipment forecast is very similar to the Excel solver functionality, if anybody's ever played with that. Again, basically, we were working with a client that was basically doing this on a SKU by SKU basis, and they were just going through month by month doing this Excel solver piece, or they were just manually plugging in those numbers. And we thought, man, that would be so easy to create that inside of TM1. And so that's kind of where we ended up with that one. And again, imagine that's on a greater scale. I mean, obviously the example I did had 32 quarterbacks or whatever in what I was showing, but imagine this is over 2,000 SKUs or 5,000 SKUs over multiple locations, whether it's online or in the stores. I mean, that's extremely powerful because now you don't have to have somebody going in and manually adjust those. All right, Ryan, do we have any other questions that we need to address?
Not seen any other questions at this time. Looks like we got them all.
I think we saw there was one question. I think Adam asked a question around IBM partners have significant influence on the product. Where do you hope, pray, and influence that Paul will go? And same for the TM1 server. I can speak to the PAW. I definitely think that some of the things that I would hope for going forward is, better, more opportunities to customize dashboards, being able to reference variances. Like, so if I want to compare my actuals to LY or my forecast to LY and have it, have a variance there. The drill down capability, I think that, that's how we set it up, but having that drill down, and then just different types of graphs, whether it's a KPI or, certain types of KPIs or waterfall, etc. So those are some from Paul, and then lastly, some more customization around exploration. So those are kind of the couple things that definitely pushing for Paul.
Looks like we did have a CubeDocs question. I just sent that over to Ross. Ross, can you see that question I sent you?
Yeah, I saw that from Lindsay. So I was just typing in it. I was just typing a response. I wasn't sure if I was going to have a chance to reply. So in short, CubeDocs is focused on the metadata of your model, not the data itself. So we do that for a variety of reasons. But long story short, we're not tracking actual data changes or data inputs. However, We do have a log file search and analysis tool, which we didn't have time to demo today, which might get you some of what you're looking for. So we'd be happy to, to do a longer demo and show you that functionality as well whenever you have time.
All right, thanks, Ross.
Thank you.
All right. If there are additional questions, definitely feel free to reach out to the eCapital or to the CubeDocs team. Do want to remind everybody we have one more Lunch and Learn session that we're going to be doing next week. It's on August 6th at the same time, 11 a.m. We have some good content for that one, so definitely feel free to join us. If you haven't already registered, register for that one. All right. We are in just under an hour, so definitely appreciate everybody joining, and hope you all have a great day and a great rest of your week.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Brady.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.